that's a good segue on to the next struggle for fitness is unrealistic expectations. And there's a lot of those. So we'll get things started on Fitness Friday. Last week we talked about, and I think it's obvious that fitness is important. Physical fitness to stay, active, exercise, diet right. I didn't mean to go too backwards on that, but I think it's kind of one of those things in life where we constantly got to hear the importance of it. It's kind of like what Mark, you were just saying. It's like there's other aspects of our lives that we have to be diligent about keeping healthy. Our spiritual life, our emotional life, our mental life, our physical, aspects of our life. So I think, just kind of revisiting that, restating it. I think most people can appreciate that, hearing that every so often is a good thing. The topics that I was going to start going over today, I doubt we'll hit on all of them, but we can roll them forward to future Fridays, is kind of what we struggle with fitness, the hurdles that we have, and some of them are obvious as well, but not always obvious how in my specific life I can overcome those hurdles, those objections. The first one that I came across that's super obvious is no time to work out, of which, I kind of feel like a harsh statement, but maybe needs to be harsh, is if you don't have time now, your body's going to make time later. And if I have that in my mind that if I don't do my exercising and be healthy 5-10 years down the road, time will be made for me, and that's one of the things I choose to look at as to keep me motivated to keep going. The other thing that's been super helpful is figuring out how to condense time. I've done a couple of things. Like one of the other aspects of my life I wanted to do was read more. Well, I found it super helpful to listen to my audiobooks and walk. Half an hour a day, 45 minutes a day with a book in my ear, I accomplished a lot, and I left from my house, so I didn't have to go somewhere. Now, I wanted to incorporate some more cardio and different fitness stuff into my life. And I've opted to not go into the gym, which is where I used to go, but I just find that life gets the better of me, and I'm having to get ready and then going over there, doing my workout, and then coming home and then getting ready for work, where, I bought a bike. Yeah, it was an investment, but now I just get up, get on the bike, get my ride in, get showered, and I've collapsed, better part of an hour out of my day. So those are the things that come to my mind when I hear there's no time to work out. What's your thoughts on that, Mark?
Well, for me, what's interesting is that it takes like 21 days to start a habit. Okay, so doing something repeatedly every single day for 21 days, you create a habit. But the funny thing is it only takes 1 or 2 days to let that habit go. So some of the big things for me is that whether I like to do it or not, I know what it takes, or what it would take me to quit. If I were to not do it for 1 day because I feel that I don't have time, then that'll be easy for me to not do it again tomorrow because of whatever my excuse for not having time. So my motivation is the fact that if I don't do it one time, then I may not do it again. And then trying to get back on that horse again is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's brilliant. You just kind of undid all the time that you invested to get to the success that you got, right? I spent a month being very diligent. Now I decided I couldn't find the time for some reason, and a week went by, and I've kind of backtracked. So now I gain that time again.
For sure.
How about you, Leslie? Are there any tips, tricks, techniques that you've picked up over time to find time?
I tend to be a little more forgiving of myself than Mark. Just like I've had crazy week and I haven't gotten all my workouts in, but I always try to remember that every day is a fresh start and that I try not to think back on what I've missed this week. I try to take it in that today's another fresh start. So I'll get my workout in today and hopefully tomorrow, and realize that sometimes stress happens and I'm always better off if I can get to the gym. But like this week, I've been spending a lot of time in the hospital with my parents and trying to spell my dad and then trying to make sure he's got food and that sort of thing. And I just haven't had as much time. I will say that I like my Apple Watch because I at least know I got all my steps in throughout the day. But while I do think obviously a habit is really easy to fall off the wagon, I think it's also really good that we give ourselves a break and realize we can just get right back on as long as it's a priority.
Yeah. The priority is a biggie, right? Like if you don't have time, it's not as big of a priority, right? We make time for priorities in our life. And again, that goes back to last Fitness Friday. It's like, is fitness a priority or not? So if it's a priority, we make time. But I like your idea of being not so harsh. The next one's unrealistic expectations. So we'll segue into that. But before we do, Lisa, any thoughts on no time to work out, like mental states or hacks you've done?
I'm like Mark. If I get out of a routine, then I won't do it. Like I said before, I haven't been to the gym since, what was it, Memorial Day weekend when I got sick. And every day I go to bed and I set my alarm for 4:30 or 5. And I'm like, I'm going to go tomorrow. And then I don't go. So I did just finish reading The Miracle Morning. I'm going to try and implement that into my life. But yeah, it's, and it just depends on your personality type. I think yourself, and some people can give themselves grace and say, it's okay, I have a lot going on. Obviously, when your dad's sick, that takes priority. Family's number one. But for me, if I get out of doing it, it's very easy for me to just say, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm kind of all or nothing with stuff like that. So I know myself and I know what I have to do, but actually doing it, that's the tough part. So no, I have no advice or tips, but I'm listening to all of yours because I need it.
Yeah, well, I think it goes, also a little bit back to Mindful Monday. One of the objectives that I wanted is to understand how we think, why we think the way we think about ourselves in our head and about other people. And that's an awareness that we need to have. It's like, what am I good at? What am I not good at? And, just be honest, and I'm kind of finding that I'm that way as well. And so that's a good segue on to the next struggle for fitness is unrealistic expectations. And there's a lot of those, right? There's, hey, I've been doing this for a week. Why am I not 10 pounds heavier and feeling more jacked? It is a thing. It sounds funny, but I think, we'd all prefer to feel that kind of progress that quickly. And if we're not aware of what it does to our head when it's not there, that we are really in it for the next, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, those unrealistic expectations can mess with us. So give ourselves some grace, plan ahead. And I think we, one of the struggles that I've had is setting the bar way too high, way too fast. What is my expectation in the next 6 months? Well, my daughter's wedding came up and obviously everybody would like to look their best and, give yourself, 3 months, but yet I want to be, all of these things. And in reality, it's like, that's not going to happen. And then, once you go through a week and then you go through 2 weeks and you're not meeting those goals, all of a sudden, right now, all of a sudden you didn't have 3 months, you have 2.5 months. So I think, the whole, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint type of mentality helps at least me get my head around, man, this is just going to be a long haul. and I've got to make it part of my daily and not beat myself up, when I'm not meeting my personal expectations. How about you, Andrew? Do you ever find yourself dealing with that?
The first thing that came to mind when you were talking about all this was kind of the instant gratification and our culture nowadays. And so I'm also guilty of that too, like mindset wise. And so when it comes to like working out and everything, I've tried to be better about it this year, just for my own health. And it's that whole instant gratification thing. So I usually get frustrated if I don't see results, overnight. So to go along with everything you just said, it's not only hard to keep going with that habit, but it's easy to, just kind of give up in a way because of the instant gratification aspect of it. So I've just been trying to change my mindset around that and just realize that it isn't going to happen overnight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. On top of our natural ability to want success faster, than we get it. I just think it's a human trait, but we get bombarded, we get barraged with, all of these advertisements telling us, oh, look what so-and-so did in 6 weeks, lost, 60 pounds. It's just kind of unrealistic stuff. I don't know how that stuff is, there's got to be some false advertising stuff that goes along there, but I'm sure it's pushed hard, right? So you got people trying to sell something, whether it's a course or exercise equipment or whatever, like they're pushing the envelope on that hard. And by the way, they're probably working with genetic freaks. If I was going to advertise and sell something and I wanted to show somebody, I'd want to find a person that, can change on a dime. They got the muscle memory, they've got, whatever the genetic, framing to accomplish the before and after photos that I want. So, I think in our head we do it, and then just culture teaches us that all these things should happen very quickly. And you put those two together and it's kind of a mess. So anyway, those are the 2 of the 5 that I came across. We're coming up on 10 o'clock. I don't know if anybody has something that they want to interject, and we can just, or we can just move on to next Friday and cover the next 3. Any final words of wisdom you want to add, Mark?
No, I think I'm good.
Good. How about you,
Yeah.
Leslie? Any final thoughts?
No, I think it was a good meeting. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I guess just to wrap it up then is probably, my hope is we're 5 days into these, team huddles. I'm hopeful that our objective of being on time and everybody finding value in those 15 minutes, just to kind of a sanity check. Is everybody feeling good about these team huddles meeting those objectives?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Awesome. How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I think so too.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep them going. We'll meet for Mindful Monday, and I hope you guys have a blessed weekend.
Thank
You too.
you.